You play.
Today is August 16th. This is episode 30 of Talk Story. Here we are.
Still clowning.
Yep.
8 months later from when we started, are we taking things serious?
I have not taken it seriously yet.
And that's why we still keep doing it. But I feel like this is why we keep doing it.
Yeah,
it's because we're not taking it serious. It's like
and people keep kind of just nudging us along every once in a while, and you're like, and someone comes like, "Hey, what are you guys doing this week?"
Give me a beer.
Well, all right. So I guess you're paying attention.
Yes. So
little things like Sean Drake.
Love
Sean Drake.
Yes.
Supermarket creative, PR firm. If you guys don't know about them, they kill it. I got
you right here, brother.
Was kind of stoked.
Keegan, you're good.
Was kind of stoked on Keegan's California dreaming kind of life for the summer, and says, "I need to have that guy's life," and I can't argue with that.
I think
but having other peers knowing that other peers watch and kind of give comments like that gets me going. It was like that imaginary high five.
We're good, Keegan. Thank you.
Thanks, little buddy.
I thought I was going to the wrong freezer because I did that one time and I opened the wrong freezer and it was like a chemical one. And I was like, no.
Freezer full of dildos.
Wow.
Mike is live. The mic is live.
All right, gentlemen.
It's like so good. God. Cheers, gentlemen. Cheers to you.
Hey,
cheers
thank
to
you guys
Cheers
for
to
having
you.
me again.
Welcome. Nice to see you. Nice to see you guys.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get into this. We're getting our introductions going here. We're at First Shop again.
Yes.
This is kind of in the home. It's gonna be like the home base all of a sudden.
Why not?
It feels very comfortable. We thought about doing it other places like this week and last, I think. And I was like, let's just go back.
It's casual. It's easy. I mean, anybody that walks in here, whether they're
I think it's just because you kind of set up this whole thing here where it just. Yeah,
the whole point of the bar and this whole area was
all the stools.
That kind of was created out of the fact that we just had friends and everybody else that would come by and talk story.
Yeah,
before Talk Story would happen.
Right before we got on, we were here for an hour and people were just coming and going and doing the same thing.
Right. So they come here, we kind of just set the seats up so you can kind of just come cruise here. And Rudy, we
came in, just cruised in.
But we've had many conversations, whether here in the middle of the day on a Tuesday or whatever. And we'll go into deep conversations about random stuff.
I always say that it's a unique thing what you guys have here because it makes that subculture. It makes me want to, I wake up, grab coffee, and I go, I gotta go swing by the surf shop, Just show face. It kind of grounds myself.
Daily routine is kind of crazy for a surf shop.
But that's what I do in the morning. Is it early? Oh, man, they're not open yet. Or, oh, fuck, I gotta run. But if I have a second, I just do a pit stop.
And that for me was always something that I'd wanted this place to be. It was a Cheers where everybody knows your name.
There's
where
no surf.
just checks in, right?
And I don't need to buy a board. I'm not, I'm just coming. I'm literally coming by to show face.
It's a real old school neighborhood thing, I think.
Right. And I think it works. I think we all want that in one form or another.
Sure. Yeah. I know. I thrive on that kind of stuff.
No, but that's rare for this area.
Right.
That's why I brought up earlier today that you create a subculture, especially from being here so long.
Right.
If you leave,
10 years.
If you leave, it changes the demographics around here.
Right.
It changes people.
The dynamic, the demographics will be the same.
Well, I mean demographic when it comes to the surfers.
Yeah, we really do got to hit the lights.
We can get karaoke going in here. I got a TV screen. But thank you.
Let's do some weekly haps.
Right. Okay.
Get into it. We got into some stuff really fast. Keegan, you were throwing down topics, you were throwing down weekly happenings, and now you're just sitting back there off mic, off camera.
Are we talking about
Keegan, our intern.
Keegan, maxing and relaxing back there, off camera, off.
He set up a camera angle for what we got going on.
How come you don't have headphones?
Because I don't have enough pair.
Oh, right.
Is that the next step? Do we get headphones?
Do we need headphones?
That would be cool.
I feel like everybody we watch, they all have headphones.
Let's just pretend.
But I feel like we can hear each other. Or maybe that's just
you guys sound great like this. Wow. There's a little more echo.
Did you hear
that? It's
like
radio voices. So amazing. It's cool.
Let's go to claps.
First weekly hap was something that Keegan said. He's like, red tide. What the hell is going on with the red tide?
That's been a weekly hap for the whole summer almost.
Yeah, I know, and we haven't touched on it at all, really. I don't think.
You're right, we haven't.
And define red tide.
Yeah, well, that's actually been partially why I think I was kind of holding back on this one. Is I don't know how to approach it.
Right, because natural, man-made?
I mean,
the influences that kind of tie into each other, because some of it is natural. There is a natural red tide that happens in a sense, right? I mean,
well,
you're way smarter on this.
What
than
the
I
fuck
am.
is red tide again? Come on,
Okay,
let's say for the people who don't know.
All right, so what the overall like kind of issue that we're talking about is there's been a major die-off of wildlife, both on the east coast and west coast of Florida, and it is strongly tied to the outflows of Lake Okeechobee. So they open up the locks. Lake Okeechobee needs to release water. The Army Corps of Engineers has basically made the system so that they can kind of create more or less like release valves, because there's a lot of people that live around this place, and so you have to have it more or less like controlled so that things don't get nuts if we have like a major rain event and things like that. It actually makes a lot of sense from that perspective. Unfortunately, what's happened is that there's other underlying factors that are creating more or less like a situation where Lake Okeechobee and all its like immediate tributaries get really polluted with
nutrient-rich.
Farm runoff essentially. And you know, if you think about it, you're like, I want to make my plants grow, so I put these, you know, whatever substances on them, and they grow. But then those substances move with the water downstream, wind up into a larger body of water, and guess what they do there? They make things grow also. And so it creates this whole cascading effect where you're like, oh, I wanted to grow over here, not over there. How did what I was trying to make grow over on the banks of Okeechobee make its way down to, you know, Clearwater, Florida?
And by the banks of Okeechobee, are we talking about Big Sugar?
Well, yeah, essentially the biggest culprits of water contamination issues.
Still don't know what red tide is.
Well, we're getting to it. Has been sugar as an agricultural body in the state of Florida. It's one of the larger that we have in the state, and so they control a lot of land, they control a lot of money, they control a lot of lobbying power, and a lot of jobs and influence that come with it. And so they're trying to grow sugarcane as effectively as possible. Unfortunately, this has created problems throughout history where they're like putting too much nitrogen fertilizer on it. They kind of realized this was an issue. They were able to scale back on that due to regulation. And then they started changing fertilizers to use different things. And this brings up what Rudy's question is, like, what is red tide? Red tide is essentially a somewhat naturally occurring phenomenon. However, it's exacerbated by the fact that we've dumped a lot of extra nutrients that shouldn't be there into the water that's flowed outward. And it creates a red tide bloom that would be way larger than if it was normal. It would be like, you know, the Hulk didn't have his superpowers and then got his superpowers. You're like, well, that's not normal. Like, that's clearly out of proportion for what's should be here. You know?
But red tide is an algal bloom.
Right.
What is
It's
it?
a bunch of
there we
algae.
go. Why can we say that?
That's
What's
right.
red tide is algal bloom.
That's what he
What
was
is
looking
it?
for. It's algae. It's an algal bloom.
Is it
So
on the
it's a bunch
top of the
algae.
water, on the bottom of the water? Is it visible?
Yeah, it does become visible. It grows especially in the upper parts of the water column because that's where the sunlight is.
And how does it
So-
affect us negatively?
So it takes oxygen out of the water.
And that's what kills the marine life.
Right.
It's
Sometimes.
the lack of
I
oxygen.
don't do anything.
Well,
It's just
sometimes.
a marine
Well,
life.
it can
It
because
does.
then when
If you've ever been in the water in algal bloom, it like stings your eyes.
How do you know
it
it's
takes your
algal
breath.
Because you can feel it.
So we have a red tide
Or
now?
if they've,
No.
if they've
I didn't feel
tested.
shit.
Right. So
No.
it hasn't really
It's-
permeated in our
Right.
areas.
It's like when we have like a lot of jellyfish come in. You're like, wow, it's a lot of jellyfish. I'm getting stung all the time.
Yeah.
Why is that? It's like, well, it's a certain time of year and the wind blew out of a certain direction for a certain amount of time, and it blew all the jellyfish that are like normally out to sea shoreward. So we got stung to crap for like
Yeah.
a couple of sessions on a southeast wind swell or
Destroyed.
something.
Yeah.
Right, because I've gone
like
through
that.
red tide up in like Central Florida, like Patrick's Air Force Base and stuff like that, where they've had it in the ocean, and it was so bad. And what happens is with the ocean breaking, the waves and stuff like that, once it gets into the air, some of those particles can attach itself to air particles, and at that point go into your lungs and create.
This is a whole other thing.
Right.
So
So
Upper
create.
respiratory infection.
Right, so
Not
if
even
you're a
that.
person that has
There's-
like allergies and stuff like that, makes it bad. If you got like some bronchial stuff, there's things that
if you're
have to do with
susceptible
breathing.
to any sort of like extra particulate in the air, or like your lungs are functioning less than, or your immune system's compromised, you're not in a good situation. To be
Right,
around
becomes
this stuff.
dangerous. And,
And
for
then-
the normal person, it becomes almost like it's someone's like choking your breath out a little bit.
Right.
Like all of a sudden, like you take a deep breath and like it burns a
I
little
got
bit,
the
right?
fucking the kit.
So the other
got
part,
Be the clap.
they're
not the
saying that there's like some signs that it does cause like early onset dementia.
Really?
That's what's going on.
Has like has
Oh,
has
fucking, I
brain
knew it.
issues and
Red
things.
tide got me.
And I thought I was just forgetful.
Yeah, nah,
It's actually a pretty like very complicated,
Right.
very crappy situation.
Right.
And I guess, and again, coming back to like why maybe we hadn't touched on it yet, and maybe it's a little bit of a weakness on our
Surf
part
and
not to
barrel
touch
and
it
red
yet.
tide.
Right.
It's just
no.
I didn't know how to approach it.
Barreling? Yeah.
I mean, how do you?
I give
It's
it 20
like
minutes.
it's affected the majority of the state, but hasn't really affected us down here, which isn't
maybe
a
not-
reason not to
No,
jump
and
on
like
it,
we're
but-
acutely aware of it. It's just
Right.
it's happened in the past, and
it's happened in the past for a long period of times, whether it was
well,
naturally
more recently.
on its own.
Well, no, more recently, like the last few years have been really, really terrible as it relates to this due to exacerbating factors, really warm summers,
Give me some water.
things along these lines.
But there was a time when back in like even the early 2000s, 2004,
Sure,
2006,
Yeah.
where I remember, again, living up in Central Florida where it was really bad and it lasted for a long time.
Right.
So that seems to be such a challenge because you'd like to say that, okay, all these man-made effects are really kind of making it even worse. But at the same time, this has happened before for a lengthy period of time also.
Keegan stealing merchandise.
Bless his heart. I love
And the true question is, if we had the red tide here, there was a waist-high wave, offshore winds, would you surf it? This is how we judge it. Yes, sir? No?
Could you?
No.
I don't
Would
even know. Would you?
Now,
You could
the
try.
question- okay, so what if it was chest high? Would you surf it?
I mean,
It's not a question
again,
of that,
I think.
really.
I think. I think.
You wouldn't?
I think you would try.
Yeah, you would surf it.
You would try.
Well, where were you not? If it was knee high, you wouldn't go out.
Well, when
you're
I
missing the
can't
point,
breathe,
Rudy.
I'd
You're-
probably
you're-
stop.
I'm curious how bad it is. This is my meter.
Right,
Rudy,
my
it's
meter.
size. I don't think matters.
Bad.
Okay,
It's like
if it's
really. It's like,
tubing
all right, listen
in
to
our
this.
backyard.
Okay, fine. Rudy, let me paint a different picture for you. You walk up to the beach, and you're walking down the sand. You're getting to where the high tide line is, and where the high tide line is, there's seaweed, and then there's dead fish. Like not little ones, but like
Beautiful barrels.
big ones, like dead Goliath groupers.
All right, but
Like
Dead-
little sharks
Yeah.
washed up on shore
Dead
dead. Would you go in?
manatees.
Oh.
And you're
Would you
like,
go? Would you
I'd-
go?
I'd
in?
have to see the
Would you
wave.
go in?
I'd have to see
I
the
know,
wave.
Wait,
It's
listen.
not- I mean,
it's
that's
a
not the point of
4-foot
this
wave and
conversation.
It's perfectly barreling, and there's hardly anybody out, but there's dead fish on the shoreline. Would you go?
It'd be weird. I'd have to get.
Be weird. I don't wanna
I'd
do
have
it by
to be in-
myself.
I'd have to be in the right mindset. I gotta see how,
I think
how healthy I am.
we're straying from what the idea here was, and that's, I guess, to Keegan's point, highlight that there is this issue going on.
Yeah.
Fine. I'm curious how bad the issue is
It's
compared.
not-
Like,
dude,
so
it's
you shouldn't
not-
get in the water.
It's not about
No,
not getting
you-
in
you
the water.
can't. It's hard to get in the
Rudy,
water.
it's like way beyond that point. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
it's like if
Like you
not-
physically can't get in the water.
and it's not
die.
like you to go surfing that one time. It's like the entire tourism industry of the entire Gulf Coast and central East Coast of Florida cannot survive from a fishing standpoint, from a beach standpoint. If you imagine like you're coming
Like
here,
industries
from,
are getting crushed right now.
you're from Michigan and you every year take your family down to whatever Sarasota and you rent this house on the beach and you can't go in the water because it's so noxious that you
It's
will,
like Jaws, but it's not a shark.
It's
I think
red
people
tide.
would
man-made.
surf.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think people would surf.
I think
Those barren.
it's not about that though.
I
We're
think
missing the point here.
I
There's
guess
an ecological disaster that's happening in our backyard, and we don't know necessarily why it's happening. We can point a lot of fingers at different things.
Sure.
And
right, some of it natural, some of it man-made. There's so many other variables involved. It's happening, and at the end of the day, on a human factor, like if you were to try, it would be hard. Like you wouldn't like physically be able to do anything because it would just totally stop you. Just as you paddled out and there was a shit ton of jellyfish everywhere, like you could put a wetsuit on and you'd be like, fuck it, I got a wetsuit on and I've got the hoodie and everything. Yeah. I'm sweating, I might die of heat stroke, but at the same time, you're still getting stung up on different.
I'm getting stung on my face a little bit, but the rest of me is kind of comfortable.
Right, but at the end of the day, you're just like, this is dumb. Why am I even doing this? That would be an equivalent.
It's more like, this is ridiculous that I had to go to these lengths to do this in a place that this should not be.
Because we've tried that when there was like huge jellyfish infestations, fun waves, but you're just like, I'll put wetsuits on. But then after like 30 minutes, you're like, this is just too painful, even with the wetsuit on.
Yeah, so it's a totally different thing, and I think, Keegan, props to you for pointing it out. We hadn't covered it really, and we should have been covering it the whole time through.
Okay, but I have another question about this. It's happened like this before, right?
Yes.
Or not to this extent?
Well, it's more like you see it once, and you're like, that's crazy. What just happened that time? Oh, there's probably these things. Oh my God, it happened again. That's... like, we haven't seen that happen.
And is it correlating every time with draining Okeechobee?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so once they drain the level down, things should equalize.
And, so
should equalize eventually.
Right. So the way
they have to drain it again.
Yeah. So I guess the way that I'm being like overly simplistic here and maybe just too much to the point, but they're like, every time you drain Lake O, it gets screwed up. And so the immediate reaction is like, stop draining, Lake O.
But then the people who live underneath the dike are going to get flooded.
Right. They're like, hurricane season coming. We're going to get a lot of rain. We're going to get flooded out. And so it becomes like a kind of...
Right.
You're looking at the wrong... It's kind of like Rudy. It's like, wait, so there's red tide? So can I still surf? It's like, well... That's not really the point of this. It's like there's a red tide, and that's because like there's a very big underlying problem that we need to take care of. And if we don't take care of that, it's like not even worrying about if you can surf. It's like if your whole community is going to collapse due to the economics that are based on our tourism.
The danger level of the exposure is
absolutely, but it becomes one of those where like it just physically impairs you.
Right.
Like I remember going when living up in Orlando, I was working for Quicksilver up in the shop. I remember going to Second Light, and I remember that I could park, but like within seconds of getting out of my car, I was already feeling like my breath, like my breath was being taken away from me.
Fuck
within seconds, and that is just being in the parking lot.
And you feel it in your lungs.
Yeah, like within seconds, it's like.
And then you paddle out, and your eyes start stinging. You're like, what? The one time I paddled out,
there's a good wave, you're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, like again, like you won't last much that long.
Imagine there's all these families come to Florida to spend their money just to be a tourist, and they're like, well, you just don't want to go to the beach anymore. Well, that's why we came from the middle of the country where there's no beaches to go to the ocean. It's so beautiful here in Florida. Like, well, yeah, you just don't want to do that. Okay, we'll go fishing. Well, most of them are dead now. So, okay,
you can do it. You can just pick them up off the top of the water.
And it's not entirely true.
Wouldn't eat them.
There is places that aren't
for
affected.
Instagram.
Just like here. You know, we're not affected by this currently.
I know.
And there's places
we're so thankful for that.
North of it on the Gulf that aren't affected. Just like there's places north of it that aren't affected in the east coast of Florida. But it is a really, really like nutty thing that's happening, and it's happening like quite frequently now.
I mean, the worst part is that a lot of it is man-made.
Right.
You whether you're just like a lot of the things that we're doing or that big business is doing at certain points or parts of the state that are making or exasperating the situation.
Well, I mean, look, there's a lot of the decisions that we all make that are bad. I mean, just procreating is bad for the planet. You know what I mean? So Big Sugar does a lot of things.
So don't have kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not helping.
Right.
What if that kid turns out to be like an Elon Musk?
What if he's Elon Musk? Great. Yeah, I've got so much faith in Elon.
I'm just saying.
Just one guy.
So you do have-
guy.
He's got one guy.
good
Thanks a
one.
lot for PayPal, though. Enjoy that. I mean, I send payments via that all the time.
Just one
But,
guy.
I mean, seriously, that guy hasn't done that much.
Fucking A, huh?
Yeah.
He hasn't done much?
No.
All right.
This is gonna be good.
I mean, that
I
battery.
like, you know what? Let's scrap the rest
That
of the fucking
battery
things.
is
Let's go
pretty
into
cool.
Elon Musk.
That battery
Let's
is pretty
go
cool,
into.
This dude is running like.
Look, I got a
7
healthy
different
dose of
companies.
skepticism.
Oh, it's okay. I
Any
don't
which way.
understand why.
Let's move on weekly. Because of this.
Yes.
So,
Bartender, me another tea.
proposing new things is great. Having a platform for new things is great. But really, what has a guy done?
He has started at least 7 companies right now.
Me too.
But they're
Got a
in the
couple
process
LLCs
of-
under my belt.
He landed 2 rockets.
Ooh,
No,
that's good.
Flew
I
2
haven't done
rockets
that.
and landed 2 rockets. He does Tesla cars. He does Solar City. He does Tesla electricity. He does the boring company that they're boring holes right now under LA.
Which was
this
funny that today
this
all of a
is not
sudden it was just like-
he one man, and maybe you have a different, like barometer of what you believe one man can do. We need more people like him. That's for sure.
All right, I want to argue that point.
And he's a good figure. He's not doing wild shit, dude. It's like you can look up
I think
to him.
that's the whole thing. I think he is doing wild
But
shit.
you do it on the low enough that it doesn't affect. Like the people could look up to him, like kids could look up to him. They're like, "Wow, we could be that." That's what we need. We need more of that.
It's like a Tesla. I mean, like
Nikola
what-
Tesla.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Nikola
you need
Tesla
more-
died penniless.
You need
so-
more figures.
And basically,
you need
crazy.
more figures.
Yeah. Well,
creating.
it's not. There's a lot of people that were like
That's
that.
what I think. We need
I
more
might go down like
humans,
that.
individual humans, creating and producing things that
All right,
scale.
that-
it's
I
too
don't-
much big business. It's too much like.
But that's the whole thing. You're arguing my exact point. We can say this for another time. Let's get into more weekly happenings.
Oh, there's more.
It's fun.
Yes. It's,
What's going on?
We got some birthday
It's
parties.
Thursday.
It's got a birthday party tonight.
Oh, tonight. Flipper, Kiko, happy birthday.
That's what it is.
Couple buddies, local guys. They do good stuff.
And
Flip's got a bar called Mini Bar
Yeah,
down
they're
in the
texting
south
me
of Fifth
right now.
area.
It's nice. I like it.
It's a super cool spot. And so tonight they're having a little fish fry. Kiko has a fish catching company that they produce
A fishery?
a lot of seafood.
He's a fishmonger of sorts.
Yeah, he produces a lot of seafood for a lot of local
KDX.
restaurants. KDX Seafood, if you guys really want to get some fresh stuff. KDX Seafood.
Hit him up.
And
You can actually
then-
get stuff delivered to you.
You can.
I have not done this yet, but I
Stone
really want
crabs,
to do that at some
fish of all
point. I
different
want to
types.
just get
They
like
kind of
a
kill it. He
giant
slays it.
box of fish and
These
just go
guys just go
bananas
out
for
and
a
they get
weekend.
stuff. And then you have Flip that's got the cool spot called Mini Bar.
Love it.
South of 5th. And it's a small little spot. And it's quaint. It's cool. It's fun. It's
So good
casual.
for the
It's local.
neighborhood.
Yeah. It's
But the
good
crazy
stuff.
thing is, like, you see a lot of local people in there, and then you see like all these hotel guests that are staying next door and
Right.
stuff, and they're like, "Ah, it's like
This
kind
place
of
is
cool."
happening. It's
Yeah.
a happening, cool little spot.
You see like people like argue, like, "Should we leave? Should we leave though? Like, but should we leave though?"
I know,
Like,
because all of a sudden they're like, well,
we belong
Yelp tells
here?
me that this bar is really cool, so we should probably go there. And you're like, but I'm having a really good time here.
yeah, like, but the
Ladies
hotel
and
bar is
gentlemen,
really cool.
if you are having a good time at any place that you're at, stay there and continue to have a good time.
That's like, don't ever drive away from good waves.
right. I mean, because it's
Don't leave fish to
a
find
perpetual check, right? You're checking surf breaks, and
That's
you're all of a sudden
like,
this place is kind of firing. But let's check. No, just go out. It's firing.
I need to fire that. I need to take that advice because I do the opposite all the
Yeah.
time. I'm like, looks good out there. We should definitely go check some more places.
Because we know that
No,
this place is
don't
good. So we'll
leave
check
waves to find
water.
waves.
Yeah, and then I'll come back like half an hour later, like, oh, good, the wind's on it, and so is the tide, and there's 400 people
Right,
out.
because you're like, oh, you know what? We checked everywhere else. Let's go back to that original
I'm-
spot that was good. And exactly that happened. You're like, I am.
So happy to know that I was right,
But I'm not surfing.
but we were wrong.
The perfect conditions.
Good. Got that figured out. I got no other weekly haps. Rudy? got
Well,
anything
you know
going?
what? We have the WSL contest in
Chopes.
Tahiti. Chopes is on currently. They're in the third round.
It's been kind of fun to
And,
watch. You watch?
I mean, yeah, it's
You guys watch?
small kind. It's not like the big size of
I mean-
Hopo. I tried my best.
how is that?
I know.
Yeah.
Chehopo.
This is like one of those ones where actually I listen to the commentary and I'm like, wait for every time
Yes,
someone says it. I'm
yes,
like,
to see what the
because
variations are. Chopu. You know,
Chupu?
choops.
Choops?
Tehaopo. You know, so it's like
End of
you're
the
like,
road?
oh, you're like, oh, there's a lot of breaks in that word. Do I have to really?
You're supposed to pronounce
enunciate
every
single part.
Yeah, I mean that's. I mean at least Hawaiian. That's what you're supposed
Pronounce
to
the
do.
apostrophe,
Yes.
yeah?
Oh, I mean that's actually it's like the most easy language to learn because you literally just say everything that's on the page.
Awesome.
But there's
And I think there's like only like 16 letters in the Hawaiian language.
What's that?
Ron Weasley.
Keegan, come on in. Come on, we can't hear you, buddy.
Wait, we can
German.
get on mic.
Hey everyone, I'm back.
I'm back. I'm back. Pull a chair up. Get in here. Get comfortable.
Alright.
So anyway, so we got the Chopes contest going on.
That's good.
Third round, if you get a chance, worldsurfleague.com. Check
On the
in.
app, on the Facebook, I think still.
Yes. Oh no, they are not running it from the Facebook anymore. Currently, I haven't read up on it. I know that they had agreed to make
Sucks.
something happen, and it's still coming out of the World Surf League app. I'm sure they're trying to figure out that
between
key.
the Hawaiian battle that you had, and then you can't get the surfing on the thing with the stuff. Not making it big over
I
there.
mean, when you drop 150 million dollars
Lots
or
of
whatever
zillion.
it is,
Just say
that is
zillions.
zillion, kabillions. Like, I mean, there's certain numbers that I never thought I'd ever talk about, and that guy's nailing every single one, whether he's gaining it or losing it. Like, he's hitting every one of those numbers that I probably won't ever see.
Well, they're fun.
Well,
Big fun numbers.
yeah. But anywho, so the contest is on. It's really fun
I
to
watched
watch.
them. Yeah, it was good.
Surf seems like it's picking up a little bit. So
I mean, these guys are like maestros and that stuff. It's
Yeah.
incredible how they can see like a different swell come from in each different set.
right, and that's what they're talking about with the current increase in swell was coming from a wind fetch of a storm from off of Antarctica, and then they were kind of like showcasing how far away Tahiti was from where the energy
Love that
was,
stuff.
and kind of going to. So it really is exciting to watch the contest. Aside from the surfing, all the things that you get to understand about the background of the surfers, where they come from, and who they are, and what they're
It's gotten
doing.
so much more
As-
like
well,
a spectator sport,
Right.
really.
So the guys that are owning the WSL are kind of versed in this process, so they are trying to make
Yeah,
it a
turn it
little
that
bit
way.
more mainstream more than
cool.
anything else. But so past
Found us.
that, we got flips tonight.
Anything else?
Chopu going
All right,
on.
weekly haps. All right, let's get right in the first topic.
Oh my God!
Summer is over, according to Chris, because actually it's not over.
Not really. I mean, technically, Labor Day really kind of seals.
Well, technically it'd be
When is Labor Day?
summer, it was
September.
early September. September 21st will
wanna
actually
go
be the
Summer
end.
break is over.
Yeah,
That's
well,
all.
Right, because schools are starting.
For
Keegan,
there's
how's
multiple ways to do
school
it.
start for you, Keeks?
We're not
Next
doing equinox
Monday.
here.
This Monday coming up, right? This Monday?
Yeah.
Like 3 days from now, Monday.
Yep.
4 days from now, sorry.
High school,
We're going into 10th grade?
sophomore in high school, beach
Gentlemen,
high.
what was
Yeah.
10th grade like for you guys?
Oof! Don't even start. It's not. It's not.
It was a lot better than 9th grade.
Yeah, we're gonna have to censor.
It was a lot better than 9th grade. 9th grade was like eyes wide open, like standing on the wall. Please don't notice me. I just want to just observe this whole year and not be effed with
I
at
can't
all.
remember anything.
10th grade was like, I wasn't effed with. I kind of made a little bit headway. Kind of got my thing figured out. I'm not the small fry anymore. So let me check out. Like, I felt like 10th grade was when I finally first got to understand and check out high school. 9th grade, I was dodging stuff. I was just like, please don't bother me. Please don't make fun of me. Please don't beat me up. You know? I mean, I was a tall kid, but I was a scrawny little kid.
No.
Keegan's like I was just like mostly like beating on kids and picking up chicks in ninth grade. You know,
listen, if
freshman
you're
year,
cool
that's how I did it.
right out the gates, good for you. Go for it. Use it.
He's like, well, this
Be
is
nice to somebody.
This is actually my 17th year in ninth grade. He's like, so when I told you
Keegan's
guys,
33.
when I told you guys
He's
I
like,
wanted
this
to-
ninth grade thing's
when I told
awesome.
you guys I was an intern,
I've been going 17 years in a row now.
I know I look young.
I was like, that would explain why you knew so much about Pulp Fiction. Turns out Keegan's our age.
They don't get it.
The sun's been good to him.
I know,
The
it's just-
sun has been good to him. So coming into 10th grade, any big expectations this
Yeah,
year?
what do you got going?
Nothing much.
You're-
I'm
you're-
hoping to be a starter in water polo.
Okay.
That's about it.
All right.
You,
So
you
water
working towards
polo.
it?
Yeah.
You doing some work?
Gotta swimming a lot.
Yeah. I have swim practice now in the mornings. Couldn't go today because I don't have my physical in. So.
Cough. As far as water polo goes, where do you think your strong suits are?
I don't know. My coach pretty much puts me in the wing and the driver, and then I sometimes get pushed into the hole. No one understands anything.
I don't understand what you're talking
there's
about.
plenty of people that might understand this.
Yeah.
So explain this a little bit more, 'cause I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, the positioning within water polo is similar to basketball in a sense where you have a center.
And you got a
and
net
then you
at
have
the
the
end?
guys, and then you have all the guys on the outside.
There's a net at the end, right?
Huh?
Yes.
Net at the end, yeah?
No. Soccer goal.
Oh, yeah, goal. Okay, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So you have a soccer goal, but you have a NBA setup, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you have the guy that's in the center, and then you have all the guys on the perimeter. You have the top 3 guys up at the top. You have the point, and then you have the guys that are drivers. So the guys that drive will either cross each other or cross and then fake to the wings, and the guys that are on the wings will rotate.
Easy,
up, back
easy,
up.
easy. Let's just go with what the field is
To
first.
score,
just
you have to
drive
How
hit
do you
it or
have, you
throw
got,
it.
what do you got? 5 and
So
a
it's
goalie?
5 guys, right? 5 guys.
No goalie.
5 guys.
and a
Goalie.
goalie.
Your goalie's on the other side. So
6 guys.
No. It's 6 guys on the playing
1,
field.
2.
Do you guys know how to play this game?
5, 6. You're right. So 6 guys on the playing
And then a
field.
goalie.
The 7th guy, so is the goalie.
So, but wait. So to score, is it you
7
hit
guys
the ball
goalie?
in or you
No.
throw it?
6
you,
guys
you,
goalie.
you only have
6
one
plus goalie.
arm, and you have to throw it in.
3, 3,
you
1?
can't like.
So it is 1 on either side,
You can
1
go
on
like
either
this.
top, and 1 that's a
You
point.
can't-
Oh,
and
they
a
do
guy in the
that?
center.
Like-
Yeah, you
Okay.
can, but you
So
wouldn't want to do
2,
like
4,
pump fake. So you
5,
pretend you're gonna
6,
shoot.
and then your goalie in the back.
So you have 1
Like,
defender?
and then you juke hard left.
Everyone's on
Can't
offense and
really
defense.
because you're in the water.
Caleb's like, this is
No,
going
but
to
the
be a pain
goalie
to
would like
edit.
think you're gonna throw it one
We have
way.
2 conversations going on
Then
at
you
the same
throw it
time
the
here.
other.
This is not good.
I was
podcasting.
curious to see how you score. Do you hit it or you throw it?
You throw it. You're throwing it, and there's no dribbling, and then there's swimming with it in
You
front of
can't
you.
dribble, it's
If
in
you
the
if you
water.
hold the ball, it's kind of thing where if you hold the ball and you put your hand up top, and someone pushes your hand underwater, it's a turnover.
Huh?
No.
Yeah.
So that's why they tell you to
Has
try
to
to
be
have it like
above the
this.
water?
Right. Or no, like you could have the ball like this. You could hold the ball underwater. If someone did it on push a hand underwater, it wouldn't count.
Why
But
would
they
they
would be
put-
able to take it away real easy.
What
So
a
a lot of
fucking
times,
wild ass rule. What is it?
Yeah.
dude, there is so much that goes into it, and the amount of acting that's going on.
Yeah.
You think soccer has acting? There is some acting
What
going
type of
on.
acting?
Well, because if someone comes up and starts to position,
No one can see this,
themselves
by the
in
way.
front of
No
you,
one can see this, by the way.
All of a sudden, they're just like this person.
Check out
if
the
Brad
YouTube
has
video.
the ball, he can go ahead and be
I'm
like,
being accosted
if his ball's
currently.
on this hand and I coming up for him, he can go be like, just jump underwater and be like, oh my god. And the ref might call it if he thinks there was a foul.
I'm kind of like, oh my
Or
God.
like if you got kneed or something?
Right.
No, like-
but that's the
like-
it is that there's so much that goes on underwater, which is both good and bad.
You get kicked and
Below bar.
Yeah, I've done some crazy stuff. One time I almost ripped off a guy's
Cosa.
speedo. That was like pretty
shit.
impressive.
Cosa de maricón, papá.
But that is pretty
Alright.
funny.
Water polo. If you guys haven't figured it out, check it out online. It's such good stuff.
Cosa.
Let's keep moving forward. So, summer's over.
Yes.
Now what? I mean, we're coming into the end of the summer, and I was just telling somebody on the beach, I'm like, we got about a month and change before we get into some little bit more potential of consistency for surf around here.
That's true.
So for
Coming
me, I'm
out of
like,
it.
I'm looking at it and saying, hey, kids are going back to school. Sweet. That means we're that much closer to potentially having
About
a little
that
bit more
time.
consistent surf.
We surfed today.
Ideally, there was
Yeah.
surf today.
It was.
It was.
Oh, you know what?
surfed.
We totally missed report and forecast.
Oh.
Holy cow.
Who are we?
Sorry, guys.
Just having too good of a time, Brad.
I didn't even just, it was one thing led to the next, and the next thing you know, we're just.
One
I'm
thing
impressed.
leads to another.
All right, so report and forecast real quickly. Yeah, there were some waves. Little waves, some little
Today,
radables.
little waves yesterday?
Yesterday.
Tomorrow?
Today. Yeah, and tomorrow. I mean, we're like barely into the 10 to 15 knot range.
Which is the better call, the morning or the evening tomorrow?
Lower tide.
Tide-driven.
Which is morning and evening.
Right? And then really it's just
2
you
a.m.
gotta like look at the
is
wind.
next
Come like
low high.
You were supposed to look at the wind for us. That's your job.
It's an
Yeah.
it's an 8 a.m. low tomorrow.
yeah, I know.
When
But
is it low?
8 a.m. tomorrow
8.
should be around 8
Ooh,
a.m.
so
yeah,
around.
Yeah,
right,
so
right
rise
when
and
you're
shine.
getting there, it'll be dead low.
No, it'll be coming in. If it's
Yeah.
dead low at 8.
Yes,
Oh,
it's been
right.
incoming all morning.
He's not there at 8.
Which South Beach is good on incoming.
Yeah, I gotta be there.
Incoming to
9:30,
high.
10 o'clock.
depending.
Wipe my
Right.
beak a little bit.
If I was gonna do percentages,
But it's
just don't have numbers in front of me.
let's do.
I'm feeling this one out.
You know what'd be fun?
Lots of things.
There's
Totally lost,
you know
man.
those like Super Bowl like things or baby pools where they're like you guess when the baby's gonna get born. You guess what you pick a square for like the
Right,
Super Bowl.
right.
We should do that for like waves.
In
We should like
regards to-
have like a like a calendar up, and you have to buy like a day, and the day corresponds to when like the first solid North swell shows up.
Oh, so it's like a
Right,
bet.
we could do that at the shop and like do a contest where
Yeah,
all of a sudden it's
something
like
like that.
if you nail the right day, you get X amount of dollars free.
Or just like the whole pool.
No,
it becomes like a Super Bowl
pick
pool.
a day, you have to put $1 in, or
Right.
you have to put
Right.
a flat fee.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
I'm betting on the
$1.
27th.
Right.
And then if
Here's
everybody,
$10.
and if
Yeah. Like it.
then you get the whole pot. And if whatever day that is, if you pick that day, then you split it with me, you, and you. We're like, oh, we all picked December 28th.
That was the big fair, like February 8th. If somebody would have put
January
money in,
7th, February 8th. I
Yeah.
mean, these are days that mean
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
March 10th.
It's so funny because I wanted to do like a full-on calendar of surfing for South Beach.
and
where
you have-
Well, it's pretty easy. You
where
just go to
because-
Thank You Surfing and look at every single
no, but you
day of
have to
waves for the
predict.
last
You can't predict
5
in the
years.
same month. You can't put in for the same month. It has to be the following month.
Oh, you want to do month by month? I'm doing by the season.
Oh, so you have to put in. There's a
Now.
close, like
Yeah,
also like
you have to put
dates
in
close.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So date the box closes whenever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cold
You
front
can't
season.
have last.
ladies and gentlemen, by
But you know,
by
I'll
the
cold front
start
season.
of
I'll sell-
September, we will have this
I'll
kind of
sell
figured
my
out,
ticket.
and we will let you
I'll sell
know.
my
You're
ticket.
selling. He's
I'll
like,
sell my ticket.
he's like, I got
I'll-
February 1st, and I'm
they're gonna-
selling.
Yeah, they're gonna be like,
What is this, a time
We're gonna
share?
get some more details figured
Yeah, I'm
out
gonna
on here.
sell my
We're gonna go ahead and
ticket.
Sounds
post
like
this a
fun,
little
though.
bit more publicly because it does sound like fun.
because I could make more money on it. If I paid $50 for the 1st of February,
Sounds like
and
a whole
week
Supreme
out, and a
thing
week
going
out from February, it looks like it's gonna hit. I'll sell.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
Listen, there is
I
an
got a leg up
entrepreneur
here.
in everything.
Because I should put $1 on every day, and then when I see
Can't
the
do that.
forecast,
So there's a.
I got the money, and then
And then at that point, you'd be like, I wasted $40
find
because
it.
I spent 40 days.
Right.
So I'm gonna sell this for $50,
Right.
and I made $10.
Here.
Who's an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I'll tell you this funny thing.
That's the kind of entrepreneur
my buddy bought a building by the Miami River, and it's like very Honduras. You know, it's called the Catracho Palace, and it has a laundromat, and it has a little convenience store, and it has a coffee shop. 6 units on the top.
Is that what makes it Honduran?
It's like.
Or is
yeah.
it because it's owned by Honduran?
So it's like all the businesses are Honduran. So
I know.
Catracho means Hondureño or whatnot. So they call it the Catracho Palace. But my buddy buys this building, leaves all the units, he leaves it working as is. He comes by on a Sunday to see what, he's just driving by. He's not even managing it. He just, whatever, he bought it. And it's full of cars. And he's like, what's going on here? Like, what, is there a band? Or it's one of those old school coffee shops.
Yeah, it's a full-on pachang.
Yeah. They're like, what's happening here? And they're having a full-on gambling ring. You're like, so it's like in Cuba, they used to do the La Bolita, and now Hondurans have their own numbers. So it starts like, 01 to, 99, and you pick a number and you bet on this number,
love
and
it.
then on the Honduran TV channel, it shows the stuff. But this is like it's like doing the Florida Lotto, but with us friends, and we use their numbers.
and we use their numbers.
And we better the odds of the people winning. And the amount of people are there, like before the box closes, like there's a time. There's like the lady has one of those old tables
yep.
with a timer.
Yep.
And it's like when it closes, you can't bet no more. People are in line. Oh,
No. It's like a
wow.
full-on like stock exchange right
No,
there.
it's like-
People are like getting
you
nuts.
Got their blue jackets
And there's
on.
rules. You can't. You're only allowed so many. You can't just buy the whole. I'm gonna put $10 on. No, they only allow you so much.
It's like playing the California hotspot. Have you
I don't
played
know
that?
what that is.
It's literally that.
Hopefully,
but
I
like
find that.
for
California
the lotto.
has-
Tell me what her name is.
All right, moving forward.
company.
Van life. All right, we're moving on to report forecast. We did the summer's over. Now what?
Summer's over. Now what?
We did that a little
Go
bit.
surf.
Yeah,
Go do something.
We got something going on.
Come to the surf shop.
Van life.
It's cool.
Oh shit.
Right. So van life. I mean, we've seen people
Yeah.
online, people that you know that have built a life.
Jonathan.
Yeah. Jonathan, Baki,
Yes.
a bunch of
what?
friends have been involved.
I know, it was so like
I was very confused
exotic.
there for a
I
second.
was- what did you just say? Did you yell at me just now?
I thought he said orangutan for a second.
call it? What
I
do
was
you
like,
call it?
that's weird. He said Jonathan.
It was one of those things when people say something where you just like smile and nod, you're like,
Yep.
totally get what you're saying.
And then it's like
It
dawns on you later. You're like, oh, I noticed.
Small van,
Interesting.
big van, RV.
I think you have
people
to
are
make a
finding
budget.
ways. Trucks. People are finding ways to go ahead.
I mean, what's the whole thing though? What are we
whether
talking
it's
about?
recreational or whether it is to actually live in.
Like tiny
People,
life.
right? I mean,
Just
people
like
are making things
tiny
happen
spaces.
within less
call
than
it?
150
Tiny houses?
square
Tiny
feet.
houses.
People are making
We're
things
looking
happen
at you,
in
Instagram.
like.
We know you like it.
What's the size of my bed of my truck, dude? That's like 6 feet long by maybe 4 feet wide. That's 25 square
Dude, that's
feet.
enough room for a desk and a cot and
Yeah,
a
30 square feet. I got this covered. I mean, but you can really compress a lot within a small space. And we have one Rudy Duboue,
who's
that is
embarking on this.
that is about to embark on this, and he took.
He's been
a
embarking on this for like,
1987 Toyota. What year is your
86.
86? 1986
Toyota
Toyota van. And if you remember, as I do, when those vans came out, they were kind of new wave. Like I think it was the first time Toyota
Was
got
like
into vans at
Teen
that
Wolf
point.
van? No, the
No.
Teen Wolf van. No, different
No,
van.
that was
sorry.
like a full Dodge or Chevy.
Yeah,
That was American.
that's a van we could only dream about.
Yes.
Well,
True
I
story.
was going to buy a van originally. My buddy gave me one of his vans. It's an old Toyota van. We did a bunch of work on it and got it up to speed. But I guess if somebody's going to make a decision, well, at least I speak for myself. I'm going to be in California for the next 3 months, just kind of cruising around. I don't have an exact timeline. I've been put in an interesting position in my life where I have a lot of freedom at the moment, and that was my decision. I was like, I'm gonna do a little project.
I mean, that'd be interesting to understand. At what point do people make that decision in their life to go ahead and have the van life?
Yeah.
Is it because I know that a good friend of mine, Christian Martin, he tours with what is that musical artist? Not Prodigy. White guy, glasses.
Buddy Holly.
No, come on, young guy. I need
When's
you.
their concert? With Kai.
Live my life. Can anyone relate?
Yes.
That one.
I have my phone.
Oh, there we go. Let's go to the internets.
Give me some lyrics.
fucked up.
Logic.
Logic. Prodigy Logic. So
Who's
Logic,
that?
the artist, is best friends with a good friend of mine, and he was asked to kind of jump on tour with him for the last couple of years. And so Christian Martin bought one of the Sprinter vans, might be one of the Mercedes ones, and it kind of converted it and stuff like that. So
Nice.
it wasn't out of necessity as if it was like, this is the life I'm going to just live.
Yeah.
But it was one of those where I'm traveling a lot and I'm going all over the place. And if anything, I want to have a home base. So this is my home base. This is
Not
what
a
I do.
residence in though.
Right. No. And
I'm
at the
like,
end of the
they got the
day,
mini
it's-
fridge.
He's making enough money to where he's able to enjoy that van life on a very executive level. Where you're
What does
like,
that mean?
I mean, well, you're able to kind of like have the van, do this, and have a lot of money and freaking check into a goddamn Sheridan if you want. I don't know, is Sheridan like high end at these days? Or
Very,
maybe
very
not?
nice for van life, I would say.
Hyatt? I don't know.
Yeah, I really-
Thank you. So at the end of the day, you're able to check into Hyatt if you want to go ahead and have four walls around you nonetheless,
Yeah.
So there's that side, and then there's a side of necessity where you're just like, I'm living out of this bitch.
I'm
every
living in
single
a
day.
van down by the river.
Right, every single
It's
day.
a different way
And then
of
my
going
life
about it,
is
I think.
happening this, and I wake up and I got to do this, and you have chores and you have routines and you have all this other stuff because doing that is at a different level than if you lived
It's like
in an
owning
apartment.
it's like
or-
owning a boat.
Yeah, I, mean,
I gotta
there's-
see it as
it's a
two
different
things.
type.
There's like the I'm living in a van down by the river on one side of the spectrum, and then there's like the Instagram stuff that I've seen, and you're just like,
But no matter what,
oh,
you're in
yeah.
a van. Dude. Like you can't take the fact away that you have
Well,
to deal with certain attributes of
I
being in
could
a
tell
van.
you that
Yeah.
some of these Instagram posts make the van life look pretty good, and
Like
then
the-
the
like
Chris
the
Farley
Mercedes-
living in a van down by the river thing.
Mercedes vans you saw.
Not
the
so much.
Mercedes van you saw at the
Outdoor show.
outdoor show.
Yeah. Yeah, those things are sick. Like, I mean, but those things are like six figures in order to buy them. Like, they're ridiculous. They're like full-on swivel captain's chairs that go ahead and lay out into like full-on sleeping beds, and then they have
Sounds nice.
converters that you're able to kind of put stuff on, and then you can have you have clips on the floor for your bikes or anything else.
I just saw it as a project. I wanted to embark.
Right, because your van obviously is not new wave. It is not one of these big things. It's a smaller van.
And my decision on getting into it at all, I just thought about, it's like, oh wow, my work isn't, I don't work a 9 to 5, So I wanted to re-engineer my life a little bit to get more out of it. And I basically said, well, what do I like to do? And I like to be off the grid as much as I can because I work so involved in the grid, in the machinery of society. Being a photographer, I'm very embedded. So when I'm not working, what do I like to be doing? I like to be surfing and I like to be part of nature. I want to be a little bit disconnected from things. And I said, well, I got the next few months. What am I lacking in Miami? It was surf and good weather. And I said, well, I'm just going to kind of go to Cali and buy a van in Cali. And my friends overheard me and they were like, dude, everybody came through and they're like, take this. And again, I just had a little bit of a change where I rented out my apartment. I got disconnected from.
So when you moved to Cali, is this van your address, your place of home?
I told
like
myself
your
I
PO
wanted
box?
to do at least a month strictly out of the van. I might get a storage right off the jump and maybe put some boards in there, put things that I don't necessarily need.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, I
And,
thought that was
where do you
interesting.
where do you park at that point?
So
Because
wait,
obviously-
so hold on one second. So the thing that I thought was really cool was that he's like, I'm gonna, live out of the van,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that you live inside of a van or
Yeah.
you spend all of your time inside of a van.
Right.
It's like he's got all these other things lined up because it becomes more like I was saying, like a boat where you're just like, okay, I need to do these activities, and it could be like eat, sleep, bathe, whatever. And like he's breaking it down to that level.
The bathing part.
Like
Like,
I
where
said,
does that
like,
happen?
He's starting to figure this
24-hour
out.
fitness.
Like the cool
Gym
thing
membership. You're set.
Exactly. I think that
It's
was
easy.
But
that's what I thought was like super cool.
I took it as a cool project. Where I was like, wow, I get to.
That was it.
Like it was either fly to
blew
Bali
the
and be
surprise.
totally disconnected. Like, where could I be close enough that I could work a lot, and create a lot of momentum for my career. I love what I do, so I want to keep it close by, but also develop other things. Like, how do I disconnect a little bit? How do I turn off, man? So I said, well, California has that structure. I could be in the mountains. I could be,
PCH?
all up the PCH. I don't need much, So again, that was just re-engineering your life. You said, okay. Then I said, I get to build out a van. I'm hands-on. I have a big background in building stuff. So I take pride in this. I'm
Sure.
like,
All right, so let me back up for a second. So you said you're
learned-
going to re-engineer your life, and then van. Because we came into it with the van.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, there's this re-engineering. And so why a van? Because you could do anything. You could go
Yeah.
live
Well, I thought
in the
about other
desert,
things.
like
I
in a
thought
tent
about-
or something. Or
I thought
don't
about
know.
going to Bali. I thought about that. But then I said, I still
What
have,
is it about the van?
Oh, well, it's not necessarily just the van. It just suits my life at the moment. And I need to be in Miami like every 4 to 5 weeks for work. And I fly in for work. I have clients on retainer, et cetera. So I had to figure out a lifestyle that I could be nomadic and at the same time I could switch right back on. I could change, put the tie on, Pelican case, airport.
You wear ties?
No, just you put
Okay.
the back suit on,
Yeah, that was.
I was like,
All the
I was like-
ties he has is to
Wait,
Miami.
I was-
I was like, he puts on
and
the
it's not
ties.
just-
I was like,
so then for me,
I'd like to see. I think I saw you in a tie once.
yeah, so I thought to myself, it'd be kind of cool to have a car in California, and then wait a minute, like, well, I could have, maybe after a couple of months, I rent a room. I don't know. I'm going to leave it open, and I like the thought of, I want to go into Mexico, I want to be in San Fran.
Structure versus chaos.
So
JK, guys.
yeah.
JK.
No, but the beautiful thing is, and what I tell people, is that you only get one crack at it all. You only get one crack to do stuff.
That's for
Doesn't
sure.
wanna go.
Only
So
one time around on this fucking rock.
yeah, so
I mean,
said,
seriously.
what would make me happy at the
I
moment?
just don't know that I would be like a van is the thing that's gonna like be my crack. That's why I was kind of asking.
And at the end
It's
of the day, it's
cool.
like,
I don't think I
how big
would
of a
do
van,
it.
right? I mean, like, does the size of the van matter? Where
It depends
Rudy's
on-
van versus like a Sprinter that's a little bit longer.
Yeah, it
all
totally
about-
has
matters.
different
Of
levels that you
course.
can kind of like.
It's money,
Will that
though.
change?
But it
Like,
also
how
matters
much
like
investment do you want to put into something? You have to make
But also,
a
what are you
decision.
trying to do? If you're like, because I think Rudy's van for what he's trying to do makes a lot
Suits
of
it,
sense.
right?
But it's
I'm
like
not gonna live in it forever.
Those
It's just like
sprinters sucked apart. You don't want that.
And then
Because
if
that's a
parts
thing.
break, it's
Yeah, you gotta
minimum
think about
thousands. You know, like a
Parking.
CDI breaks, a turbo breaks. You start breaking any electronics scenario.
Whereas your 86 Toyota van
fix
is
this
more
shit myself,
mechanical
dude.
than it is digital. And that's a big thing. And now I've got an 89 Ford.
I got crazy glue and a
That's
screwdriver.
exactly that. It's like it's more mechanical than it is digital. So it's like it's actual physical pieces that you're looking to fix and move versus a switchboard.
You have to plug it into a computer.
And then you get to study things. Then I geek out on thermodynamics, DC to AC, and like, I might be, and how much
This is another
amperage.
thing that I think is actually a big part of it that I've kind of noticed, like tangentially, is that you love to geek out on the van itself. It's like if I had an apartment and I was really, really, really into my apartment, like I was like, so I changed the AC filters here this week because I found out that I can get like way more efficiency and get way cooler temperatures. But no one talks about that about a house. But like when you get into like a van kind of space or a boat, like I was saying before,
was like that with my
then-
apartment.
Well, to a certain amount with an apartment, but when you
That's
get a
how
van, it just becomes more, I think, like concentrated
Well, you
because
have
the
to be
space shrinks.
yeah,
just
true.
like a boat.
And
So
you
I-
have to.
Right.
With the van, you have to.
Right.
I
And I
took
think
a-
it's cool though when you go like from like if you like know people that have boats who like will even like spend weekends on boats or maybe even like do commercial work on boats, they figure stuff out like really quick. And like when you look at their house, you're like, that's amazing that I didn't need to move more than a half an inch to do all the things that I need to do to fill my beer. It's like, you must have a boat. How'd you know that?
Did you guys order food?
Nope.
No.
I mean, for me, it was just.
What are you looking for?
We got a food delivery guy. Come on in. Come on in.
Yeah.
Welcome.
got?
Welcome.
What are you looking for?
There you go.
100 South Point, which is the actual part of the building. So you have to go around the corner, walk all the way up to the gate. I'm gonna take care of it. Okay, thank you.
Welcome to the podcast. See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, we accept all, and we will just roll with the punches.
You know, you just gotta help out the local folk. They're looking for an address.
I mean, it smelled
You
good.
know-
Not sure what it was.
We really
just
should have
taken it.
just dialed in on that.
I
Like,
know,
yes, sir, that you were correct. That is,
I
here's
will
your
sign this.
here's your tip, and we're gonna eat. What is this? Kung Pao shrimp. This is
will take
delicious.
Yeah.
So we stoked on this whole
I mean,
process. I mean, you're coming
I've
from
been-
going in an apartment and straight into a van.
All right,
I know there's the
his
initial
apartment was
stoke.
rad.
Right. I know there's the initial
Still
stoke,
have it.
but there is the actual getting through the process and doing it.
I like
Where
watching it.
Once you're going through the process.
I like watching it.
Are we gonna get to
Yeah, I'm gonna start a cool Instagram.
participate
I'm
in the
gonna
whole
have,
process?
Like, I thought about it well. And again, this is something.
Gotta do it now, dude. I've sat in it like 3 times and it's changed so much.
Yeah, I document everything, and it's something. Yeah, I'm just going with the flow. I like doing these things, so I get involved in building surfboards.
Right.
I'm monastic about photography. I don't want to know it a little bit. So then I said, well, I got this shell of a car. How do I take it to, the best of its ability? So I paint the roof with acrylic silicone paint. Oh, what type of electrical could I use? Oh, I understand I need a bigger alternator so I could run 2 batteries and it could charge the rear battery. And I have it on a one-way switch so it doesn't drain my normal battery. How much voltage do I need? What do I need? I need to charge laptops. I need to charge batteries for cameras, a coffee maker. Like you do the math on what amperage that is. So you start weighing out what you need. Is it going to be cold? Because I was originally going to have all these vents and airflow, but then California weather is not Miami weather.
No.
So you can't, and then you understand thermodynamics, you understand insulation, where does heat transfer come from? People don't understand. So if you heat this,
Microphone he's
the
pointing at.
heat heats the molecules of air around them. So the more of this gets hot, the more of the air gets hot. If you don't get that air out, that's getting this area hot, but airflow is really big. People think insulation is big. It's not. Where does the sun come from mostly? It's usually from the top or heating the floor. You could park next to the trees. You can mitigate a lot of.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will be moving into an apartment. I don't think the van life is for me. There's just a lot of thinking that is going involved. I would rather just be like, oh, how much is my bill?
Yeah. No.
Take it.
It's cool. Like for me, it was like, well, I want to go into the mountains solo.
That's awesome.
You know, I want to just go solo, open the doors,
genuinely
be on my own tip. I want to go into Mexico solo, surf waves. I want to park the van on the PCH and get woken up by the waves. Or maybe I'm there a week and I think it's terrible. But at least I did it and I checked it off the list. Even though I told myself a month no matter what.
So is there a list? How big is that list?
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I've never seen him shy away from anything.
We'll pull him in a couple weeks from now for another.
That was crazy. He shied away from a question.
We'll have when I come back from the trip, we'll have a talk. And I don't want to get too far into details, but again, it's something I like going with the flow a little bit. I made a goal. I told myself I was going to do this. I'm not going to drive it. I don't want to put the wear and tear on the van, so I'm going to ship it.
Not drive it all the way to California.
I would, but I don't want to wear and tear. Like, it's not worth it.
Right. At its age. Like, you recognize what it can do and what it can't do.
Yeah, if you do the math, it's kind of cool.
Right.
Numbers, they go, what am I going to spend in a day?
Right.
How much money is it going to take for me to be there 3 months?
Right.
Or what if I stay here 3 months? You start like, oh, wow, I'm saving money.
Which is interesting because within that aspect, I mean, there is that aspect that comes into... that comes into just like what you do within a surf shop, you know, and within that, like the surf shop is constantly evolving and changing.
It does.
And then within that, like you could say we all have variables on what our van would look like, what your van looks like according to what you're doing, this and that.
Everyone's got a little something to give.
So I'm going to segue into our next little section.
Wow, you did it.
I know. I'm working on it. I'm getting back into the process. So, you know, a lot of our next segment is in regards to what does your local surf shop look like? Or what is your ideal surf shop? Because the surf shop is changing. You know, brick and mortar retail shops are changing.
Oh,
the typical
like a
old school
shop
surf shop used to be blah, blah, blah.
Your deli is changing.
And now we're
everything.
seeing certain shops that influence or have a lot more influence of a different type in it, whether it's they have maybe a little coffee influence in it, maybe they have a little beer influence in it, maybe they have this, maybe they have that. It's contingent on the area that you're in, whether it's Hawaii, New York, California, Pacific
and
Northwest,
who's running it,
down in South
what the
Florida,
vibe is.
Right, exactly. There's so much that's
It's
involved.
crazy.
So the question is, what's your ideal surf shop?
All right, so for me, it's kind of easy. I've been doing this whole going to a surf shop thing since I was really small.
Wow.
And I found surf shops to be fascinating since I was a kid. And
Which part?
The
Like,
hard
what
goods.
was it? It was the
hard goods.
right?
Always for me, hard goods. All the other stuff, I can really care less because I've seen clothes before.
Sure. It's been around since dawn of time.
You know?
Let me try.
And
Kill a cheetah.
you know, to see surfboards, fins, wax, leashes, skimboards, bodyboards, fins, wetsuits. I mean, hand planes didn't exist really in mainstream when I was a kid, but like,
The chair, the levitating chair.
yeah, well, that was from, the
levitating chair.
air chair.
The air chair.
Yeah, well, they didn't have it in surf shops. That was more of like a boating
the foil,
thing.
right.
But like, yeah, I mean, that's what I went into a surf shop for, is more that stuff, because everything else around there was just sort of part of it for me.
Sure.
It was
the
like,
people running the shop, nothing like that. They didn't do anything for
oh
you.
no, of course, yeah. I mean, it was.
But back then, did that have you coming back? The people that were involved in the store, or was it the hard goods that got you coming back? You think?
Well, I mean, I walked into
Or
surf
combination.
shops for hard goods anywhere I was. If
Right.
my parents
you
like,
returned because of who was there.
yeah, locally.
Or what they stocked as well too. They have good boards and stuff that I could geek out and look at.
Right.
But it needs to have a vibe.
I tell you, Rudy, there was like really not much to choose from when I was growing up as a kid in New York. There was a couple of shops, 2-3 shops, and I did choose a shop, and I grew an allegiance.
It'd be interesting how
Based off
why,
what, though?
like why
I know,
exactly?
I-
Like,
this
how
is
do
the
you,
fir- this is the
how do you
first
choose a
time-
shop?
This is the first
And
time I
why?
ever thought about it.
I know why.
Dave, Mike, congratulations. I've chosen you. You get the rose tonight.
Which is what surf shop?
Unsound Surf Shop.
Unsound Surf Shop. It's been around forever.
Yeah, well, not really ever. I mean, really since like late 90s, since Lido Surfing Sport closed.
Yeah, that's over 20 years. That's a long time.
Oh, God, yeah, I guess you're right. Sometimes I forget that I'm not like 14 anymore. Yeah, he is. Yeah, so I mean, I chose that shop, really like on their ability to help, and I was just a stupid grom that doesn't know anything about anything except that I wanted to surf. And my mom and dad were nice enough to take me down to the surf shops and let me, convince them to buy me stuff from time to time, like
so many variables, like chance,
whether a boogie
how is
board
chance
or whatever
that plays into the whole prospect of how long that plays into your life. Like Keegan, 14, 15 years old, right? 15.
Yeah. 15.
All right. So by chance, he has no other choice. The only surf shop in South Beach,
So
and
this
the only
is-
shop
this is-
around. So for him,
I have the Island Water Sports. I got to practice there. So,
Where's Island Water Sports?
in North Miami,
North Miami.
Look at that. That's amazing.
It's by Hollover.
You live here and you're like, this is the only surf shop I know. And there's another surf shop that's like 8 miles away.
But there's something here on
Yeah,
Washington
no.
or something. What is that?
Yeah, you got
South Beach Dive and Surf.
Dive and Surf. I like those guys. I liked the guys from
I think I've
Liquid
been there
too.
one time in my
Yeah.
life.
Yep.
But they closed down.
Eduardo.
Yeah.
So I bought my first board from them. They were cool guys.
Eduardo,
Where?
what's up?
Yeah. So
From where?
So
What? Liquid 2?
on
What is
they
that?
were on 71st Street.
71st.
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yep. Eduardo had been
Yeah.
around for a little while. He started in North Bay Village on a random little spot. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But, he pushed through and he had good stuff and, he made things happen and he lived the culture and the vibe and it was awesome. But,
did it for that long.
right. Yeah, he did it for
They
a
were
while and then
super
tapped
cool,
out
but-
when he was ready to tap out.
Never open.
It's kind of cool. Like,
I would always go down there and they were never open. And
Yeah.
Like, I
Well,
All right,
Yeah,
so
they-
that's something that you expect from a surf job is to be open.
Yeah.
I mean,
So why do you like us over here?
What?
Aside that
Yeah, they're
you're
always
working with
open.
us and you have to now.
you're open, you have wax.
Yes, you guys are open. You have surf wax. You guys have everything I need. And you guys are cool people,
Cool. All right. So,
I don't know,
we're
like,
we're checking off a couple boxes.
Going to California a lot now, there's a lot of surf shops. I only
Way
go,
more than here.
I only go into Mollusk.
Really?
That's it.
I mean, but are you only going in that one area? Because they got two shops, right, in Cali?
It's either Mollusk in Venice or Mollusk in Silver Lake. I don't go anywhere else.
Why, though?
How's the
how-
Silver Lake one? I haven't seen that
It's
one yet.
sick.
Is
They
it?
They go in there.
Is
they
it better than the
remember
one
me.
in Venice?
Yeah, it's different. It's cool. Just as
Wow.
cool.
Right.
And the one in SF is just as cool too. Those people, you go in there and they look at you and they're like, "Oh, he's one of us." And it's like a tribal thing for me. And they have nice boards that
They
I
have
like.
great boards.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go with Rudy because I'd be like vibed out there. They'd be
I
like,
go
who's
in
this
there
guy?
and
I'd be like, okay, I'm
I go in there.
sorry.
I go to the shop-
I won't touch any of the.
And it's funny because
Don't touch
as,
it in heavy
as a
gloss
surf
boards
shop
anymore,
owner
sorry.
and as someone that's been in surf retail for quite some time and dealt with volume and everything else, like I'll look at other shops and I'll go in there and I kind of just get the vibe and I get the feel and stuff like that. And I sometimes wonder whether they're cool or not.
Yeah.
How do they survive?
First thing
Because
I do when I get to Silver Lake, I go to the coffee shop, and then next door I go to the medical marijuana place, and then I go into Mollusk. And they go in there, we high five, and we talk about boards. The people running, we're all
All right,
geeking
so
out,
great.
talking
That's
about-
So that
wonderful.
could be a big portion of why they survive is this. It's
They got a
that
little
of,
community there.
that,
Everybody's
right.
doing the same thing. They have live music once a week.
That's all
There's,
wonderful.
like, things
But
that
like
are
you got to
happening.
spend money for it to be a profitable
You
business
gotta
for
play
them.
ball.
right, and then at some point,
And, like,
it's,
all that
it's got to
stuff is
make
great. Like, I think
X
that's
amount of
well
dollars
worth it.
because rent ain't cheap.
Yeah, but
Operational
without
costs
that
are cheap.
interaction, I
Like-
wouldn't be there.
right.
Well, that's exactly the point. So like you're basically sunk from the get-go unless you can do that.
Yeah.
And then if
Especially
you can go
nowadays.
past that point, yeah, I think that's really it. It's like if you're not
need to
doing that,
create a
you
culture.
got nothing.
You need to create a culture to get, at least
not
for
like-
me,
And more than anything else, like somebody like Mollusk as well as Talia Surf and stuff like that. Those guys that are shops have created themselves into a brand.
yeah, they
And then
support the right
and then
people.
once you become that brand,
Yeah.
people want to support the brand. They're like,
that's
listen,
why I
I
do
will wear a First Surf Shop T-shirt,
But it's
a First Surf Shop
but it's a
hat,
weird local
First Surf
thing.
Shop beanie, and that starts from there.
Right.
Beanie's not here. You're right.
What do you
I
mean?
just saw you with the beanie. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Actually, I
Sounds
noticed that the other day. I went
but
through.
it's funny
Hold on one
because-
second. I went through all the episodes the other day, like
He's never without a
9
beanie.
through 20, and I was like, "Oh, this must have been winter." Oh no, that was actually last week. Caleb's still wearing beanies.
It gets cold. You know, for,
but it's funny because when I worked for Quicksilver, of accessories, beanies were one of the higher end stuff that we sold the most of. And we're ladies and gentlemen, we're not cold down here. Of but maybe 1 to 2 months out of the year, and of those 1 to 2 months, maybe 4 weeks out of those 2 months, that we
not
will
even.
have enough beanie weather to happen. But there are people that wear beanies aside from the actual cold factor, and I was really intrigued on the numbers and the statistics that held that up. That was said, listen, sell beanies.
Lou during his that's another little shout out weekly happening. Lou's thing
Lozada.
at Leica last week. That was pretty cool. I was very excited to see how many people were there.
Where do they check them out at? LouLazada.com?
Votograph.com.
Votograph. VODA. Photograph.com.
Another funny one is the fact that people wear headphones and they're not actually listening to music.
Okay, so that was the whole thing. So he
What?
shows this photo.
wait.
So
what,
Lou
what,
shows this
what?
photo the other day, and it's all these guys. They're all wearing beanies with headphones, checking the waves, like on one of the
Yeah.
cold front days. No one's listening to music, and it's not even that cold
They're
out.
talking and just have headphones in their ears.
Why do they do
It's
that?
great.
Because it was
Because they
probably
can.
Christmas and they just gotten the.
Yeah. Everyone's got their
I'm
skull
like,
candies.
These things are tight as fuck.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear my new
I will
beanie,
wear this.
my new headphones,
Dude,
and
I'm
they're
gonna wear
check the
my
waves.
wireless headphones.
And like 9
my
guys showed up.
beanie.
The whole peanut gallery is out there. You see that photo? That was a great one. Oh
And
man.
it's always a challenge when companies are just like, so about your location. You're like, I get it. I know. There is so much about what we do that sometimes
Makes no
is a little
sense.
questionable.
So look, we're
But
gonna need
I will say that
shorties and 3 mil booties. You're like, excuse me? Yeah, we don't need full wetsuits. They just want the booties. You're like, what? Like, well, their feet gets cold. It's in that one cold
And it
front
also
year.
makes-
Did I mention the Bermuda Triangle is right off our coastline? I'm just saying, it really throws people off.
That red tie's good.
It's so getting to us.
Get into our brains.
Are we done with this episode, or are we still going to talk about
Listen,
surf
it's
shops?
10 o'clock. I think
We gotta
Flip's
go to
there.
this party.
I think Flip's at Minibar at
All
this
right.
point.
So we
Hey,
should.
ladies and gentlemen,
Au
we're gonna
revoir,
party.
mon ami.
There
We're
is.
going to one
Mes
of our
amis.
weekly haps.
We're going to one of the weekly haps. I've got to pack my bags.
That's right. You're leaving tomorrow.
I am.
Costa Rica. Pavones.
Must be nice, buddy.
Sorry, I know we're not
very
supposed to go and
excited. What
talk
time
about
are you leaving?
spots. Pavones, everybody.
What time
Cut
is your
him
flight?
off.
Go dropping on Brad.
What time is your flight?
Oh, thanks a lot, Caleb. I don't
When
know.
he's in the barrel,
10:30.
burn him.
Thanks a lot. Oh my
guys.
God, Keegan,
See
like,
ya.
you're getting like nonstop noogies after this show.
All right,
they do those
Rudy's
anymore?
out. Bradley's calling it off. Let's go fuck
All
out
right,
of here.
August
What are we?
16th, my brother
Episode
Dane's
30.
birthday.
Dane,
happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
Love you, brother. Episode 30 in the books. Rudes,
Yay.
Caleb, Keegan, what's up?
We're about 2/3
Chris.
of the year done with this whole thing.
Bra.
It's treats. No for you.
We'll see you guys next time.
That's it.
Let's do it.